So I'm not a parent, and I don't have any kids of my own, but I believe that you don't need a PhD or a used up uterus to know that single parenting is hard. And I just want to give a big applause to all the single parents out there, single dads, single moms that are trying to do the best they can to raise their children. However, I want to do this video today because on one of my most popular videos on signs of emotionally abusive parents, I got this comment asking, hey, this is great, but what happens when the emotionally abusive parent is actually a single parent? It's a single parent family. And I thought this was a perfect opportunity for me to do a video on this and to explain the complex dynamics of how to deal with an emotionally abusive parent when you are in a single parent family. Also, I just want to also share with you a bit of a harsh truth, and not many of you are going to like to hear this, but if you do have an abusive mother or an abusive father, there is a high chance that that person is actually not abusing you, but they're abusing the person that you remind them of. And I'll explain that later into the video. So, if you have no idea who I am, my name's Olympia, and with my studies in cognitive neuroscience and art history, what I like to do, I like to dissect that pretty little brain of yours to see what makes you tick, but also what makes you talk. So for those who are returning and new members, welcome to the G spot, aka the gaslighting spot. This is a safe place where we talk about gaslighting, and in this case, emotional abusive parents in a single parent family, where we share thoughts, experiences. If you haven't already, make sure to join my Facebook group. I will link it below. But let's start with this video on how to deal with an emotionally abusive parent, especially in a single parent family. So the tricky thing with abuse is that it's all about power play. It's all about who has the upper hand. Now, when it comes to a single parent, this becomes even more complex because there isn't this triangle between the father, the mother, the child, or the two mothers and the child, or the two fathers and the child, whatever type of family you are. There's only you, the child, and the abuser, whether it's your mom or your dad. And usually, this is not, I'm not stereotyping here, but usually single parents become more emotionally attached to their children because they don't have the support that they would have had if they had a partner. And they become much more sometimes involved in their children's life and become even more, and also increases their chance of becoming codependent. They want to control their child. They want to make sure that for whatever reason that they're not with their partner, which is also a very important factor, by the way, that their child won't leave them, abandon them. So even though it has nothing to do with you as a child, understanding the reason why your parents are not together, why you are being raised by a single parent, can help you understand where your parent is coming from and maybe give you a bit of a closure. What do I mean? So let's say if your mother, I'm going to use mother here as an example, was abandoned by your father, that found out that she was pregnant and split and left. So now this person is very vulnerable, may have huge abandonment issues. So what's going to happen? Very likely the mother will actually try and control their child because they have this fear, which obviously does not always make sense. That's why they're fears, to gain their child back, to not lose their child. Now, the thing with single parent families is, like I said before, the dynamics. So Craig Malkin, who is a lecturer at Harvard Medical School, said that there are three types of gaslighting in families: narrative, emotional, and personal. So the thing with narrative gaslighting is that the parent tries to convince the child that whatever the child is saying is not true, that whatever happened did actually not happen. So this could be so simple, such as, I never told you you were selfish, but the child remembers specifically that the mother said that they were selfish. And then the problem with the single parent family is that you don't have witnesses. So if it's only between you and your mom or you and your dad, then that becomes much more trickier in terms of emotionally abusing the child and even gaslighting the child, which I do a lot on gaslighting. Because if there's a father or a brother, they can say, for example, hey, you did call, let's call him Mike. You did call Mike selfish. I was there, I saw it, I witnessed this, Mike is right. Whereas when it's a single parent, poor little Mike doesn't have anyone to vouch for him. And that's how narrative gaslighting can become, a narrative emotional abuse and gaslighting can become much more trickier in single parent families. So the second type is emotional gaslighting, and emotional abuse in single parent families is a very tricky thing. Emotional gaslighting specifically means that the mother or the father does not respect, react, or acknowledge the child's feelings. So whatever the child says they're feeling, the mother or the father will neglect it or try to prove them wrong. Interesting enough, I also did a video on how compliments can be a form of emotional abuse and gaslighting, when parents say, for example, "You're not tired, you just had a nap," or you're not grouchy, you're just hungry, because you're kind of telling the child what they feel. Now this is a bit more complex in single parents, because like in the narrative part, you don't have that third parent or that sibling or that another authority figure to back you up. You don't have another source to let you know, and that, you know, what you're feeling is valid, what you're feeling is okay. And slowly, because unfortunately the relationship you have with your parent is the first relationship you will have, you don't really understand what you're feeling, and you're mostly depending on the parent to tell you what you feel. And that's how basically all your future relationships get screwed up, by the way. And the last one that Malkin talks about is personal gaslighting. And that is basically when the parent undermines the child and tries to lower its self-esteem and confidence. Now the thing with single parents, which is interesting, is that a lot of them, because they were either abandoned by their partners, they have this need to feel needed. And many times they will go to extreme lengths and try and convince their child that they cannot live without them, that the child is dependent on them, that they do everything for their child. They will use tactics such as guilt tripping, which I've talked about, and also tactics such as comparing them to their partner. This is where things become messed up. Now, I said in the beginning of this video that I was going to share with you a harsh truth, and that is that your parent, your mom, your dad, may actually not be emotionally abusing you. They may be emotionally abusing the person you remind them of. Now, unfortunately, you did not choose this life. Unfortunately, you were not there when the other parent, for some reason, decided not to be part of your life. This could be to various factors, but you carry that other person's DNA. You are part of that. You're that other 50% of that relationship. So many times, unconsciously, I believe, and I want to believe, parents will lash out on their children because they remind them of their partner. So especially if it's the opposite sex, I believe it can become much more easy and much more trickier. So for example, if the mother has a son and that son does certain things that remind her of her abusive partner, she will lash out on her son when it's not needed. If the son starts acting out when showing signs of independence, that mother may feel neglected or insecure, and then may start calling her child for no reason selfish, or that he's acting just like his father. The thing with single parent families many times is that one of the parent usually vilifies the other parent. So suddenly they create a villain out of nowhere. And this is not for all single parent families, by the way, but many of them, the other parent will become the bad guy. And the child will be brought up from such a young age viewing the other parent as the bad guy, that any comparison to that bad guy parent is detrimental. Anytime they do something that they don't like, or that they don't agree with, the other parent, let's say in this case the mother, will say, "Hey, you're acting just like your father. Hey, this is exactly what your father did before he left me." Things like that, which are very harsh, but actually don't have to do with the child themselves. So in order for you to deal with such situation, first of all, you have to learn to hear but not listen. You have to understand that many times in the case that I just gave you, that you remind them of their partner, is not in your control, unfortunately, and you were dealt with a crappy set of cards. But you can take this as a lesson, and you can take this as a way to fuel your future relationship and not repeat this cycle of abuse. Because if your parent is abusing you, most likely they were abused either by their parents or even their partner. And especially if you remind them of their partner, their abusive partner, the chances are they're going to show abusive traits to you. Also, you are not in no way responsible for whatever your parent is feeling. They cannot blame you for making them stressed, or making them feel lonely, or making them feel anxious. That is on them. And the moment you realize that, you will feel liberated. And especially, I believe, for boys, you're the one that is supposed to be taking care of your mother. No, my sweet boy. It's the other way around. Your mom is supposed to be taking care of you, and you're not responsible for keeping it together for your mom. You're not responsible for minimizing her stress. You're not that is her. That is the job of a parent in general, whether single or having a partner to support them. And because you don't have this good cop, bad cop situation that I explained in my previous videos, where you have one parent that can keep the other parent in line by pointing out when they're being abusive, that's when in single parent families it becomes a bit more complex. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure to smash the subscribe button and ring that bell for your weekly Thursday videos. And also, most importantly, guys, share this video with someone who needs to know how to deal with emotionally abusive parents, especially if they are brought up in a single parent household. And that's it, folks.